So here we have Larry Elder and Jessie Peterson make some very great points about the black community in America. What are some things holding them down, and what are some things they can do to better themselves? What you find being spoken of a lot is about systemic racism and how white America is oppressing black America. Is that really true though? So Larry Elder and Jessie Peterson really break it down in this interview, and Larry makes some really great points that I think we ought to take consideration of when looking at racism and the black experience in America.
And people may attack me and call me a sellout and Uncle Tom, but I rarely hear the word wrong. Yeah. That to me would bother me more than anything else. Aside from that, Jesse, over the years, I'm sure you developed the same kind of hard bark. Over the years, you realize that when people say stuff like that, that means they're out of ammo. The thing to do if you think somebody is wrong is to marshal the facts, make an argument, here's why you're wrong. They can't do that, so they call names. It's silly. It's almost sad because it shows you they're not willing to develop anything, not willing to grow. Yeah. And we in the black community have a real problem with that, which is why we have so many problems, because somebody like myself, somebody like yourself comes out and say, look, the number one problem in the black community is not systemic racism. It's the large number of kids who enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. It's a problem for America in general, but it's particularly acute in the black community, where 70% of black kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. And what's happened? The welfare state, launched by Democrat Lyndon Johnson in 1965, has incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. And when I raise this, instead of saying, let's deal with it, why is it happening, I get attacked, which means it doesn't get solved.
Yeah. I was wondering, your message is for all people. It's for all people, but especially black people. And if they were to listen to the message and follow a little bit of it, just some of it, their life would get so better. Has it ever bothered you that the blacks, not all, but most black people goes against the message?
Yeah, it bothers me because we're not going to improve the problem until we recognize we have it. A kid raised without a father, Jesse, is 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. Now, it seems to me, if that's true, I would want to know what I can do to reverse that, instead of attacking the guy that's bringing the message. Yeah. I was in Mar-a-Lago with Donald.
Something that you don't hear being spoken about a lot, the extreme amount of black-on-black crime that is happening in that country. It's just amazing. You see all these videos of what they call YNs now, just killing each other for fun on live. And that's a big deal, and no one is talking about this. Not enough people, I think, are talking about this. It's really pernicious, and something has to be done about it.
Trump about a month ago, when I dropped out of the race, we'll talk about that, and I endorsed him. And I told him that I ran as a mega candidate. And I said, I know we have a mega candidate, his name is Donald Trump. But I ran because you are not talking about some of the issues that are really affecting the country. Yeah. And if I can get you to begin talking about those, I would feel that my candidacy achieved its objective. And the number one thing I told him is the epidemic of fatherlessness. 40% of all American kids now enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. 25% of white kids do, which was the same percentage as was blacks back in 1965. And I told him that a young black male, aged 13 to 43, Jesse, is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a white male, same demo. He was shocked. He said, do you have a source for that? I said, yeah, the Centers for Disease Control. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
And the number one cause of preventable death for a white teenager or white kid, 19 and under, is accidents, like car accidents or drownings or drug overdoses. The number one cause of preventable death for a 19-year-old black male and under is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male. Yeah. Now, it seems to me, if this is true, my reaction would be, good Lord, what are we going to do about it, as opposed to you're an Uncle Tom, you're a sellout, you're a bootlicker, you're just saying stuff for the white people. I mean, that's silly, and it means we're not going to solve the problem.
Yeah. Why do you think most black people reject the message? When they know, they can look at their own family, they can look in the community, they see what you're saying is true. Why do they reject the message?
Easier to blame somebody else. Yeah. Easier to point the fingers at somebody else. Yeah. Because if you don't do that, and you're on the left, and you voted for all these Democrats that have kept pushing these policies, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh my God, what have I done? And that's just a a bridge too far for a lot of people.
Amazing. I wanted to ask you about that, but first I want to know, how do you see America now? Things have changed in such a negative, for lack of a better word, evil, drastic way all of a sudden. How do you see America, and do you think we'll ever come back to being America again?
Jesse, I was in Boston in 2004 when this skinny kid with funny little ears, a name nobody could pronounce, full of charisma, came out and gave that speech. He was introducing John Kerry, who was a 2004 Democrat nominee. And he said, there's no red America. There's no blue America. There's just one America.
Yeah.
There's no black America. There's no white America. There's just one America. We are one. It brought the house down.
Amazing.
He decided to run for president. And his first interview on 60 Minutes, he wasn't the front runner yet, but he was gaining on Hillary. The correspondent said, Senator, if you don't win, will it be because of your race? Now, I was home by myself. I know what kind of answer Al Sharpton would have given, who ran for president and complained about racism.
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson ran twice and complained about racism. I know what answer they would give. I said, let's see what this man says. And Senator Obama said, no. If I don't win, it will be because I have not articulated a vision that the American people can embrace. I said, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Senator Obama was speaking at a black church. And he was talking about how much racism there is in America. Even people didn't vote for him said, all right, at the very least, I don't want Obamacare. I don't want my taxes raised. At the time, he criticized the war in Iraq. At the time, it was popular. I don't want that. But at least he will stop the nonsense about America being systemically racist and bring us together racially. Even people who didn't vote for him assumed that. The polls show that both blacks and whites thought race relations would improve.
It's so sad. It is so very sad when you see the impact that rhetoric can have on the psyche of a people. These people have been told for years that America is systemically racist, and even without evidence of that, they still accept it to be true.
8 years later, when he left, both blacks and whites thought race relations got worse.
Yep.
Because for the entirety of his 2 terms, it was race card after race card after race card, beginning with the Cambridge police acted stupidly. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
White police officer in Cambridge gets a call from a neighbor in the neighborhood who sees this guy push open the door in the neighborhood. Didn't recognize him as Henry Louis Skip Gates, who's a Harvard professor, whose house it was. Didn't recognize him. She called 911. Don't you want your neighbors to do that? Looking out for you? Cop shows up, sees this man in the house, doesn't know if he belonged to the house, and says, sir, please come out and show ID. And what did this guy do, who, by the way, is a friend of Obama? I'll come out if your mama tells me to come out. So the cop arrested him briefly. And instead of Obama saying, you know, last night.
Now, look at that case. You have this Harvard tenured professor, this intelligent individual, supposedly intelligent individual, and look at his very nasty response to a lawful command, a lawful instruction. Look at his very nasty comment. What do you expect from the others who might not be as intelligent as this man, as learned as this man? How can you expect anything better from them? It's just really sad.
I talked to my friend Henry Louis Skip Gates. I said, Skip, what are you doing? You're a Harvard tenured professor, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
The big problem in America with these young black men is they're not complying. And instead of complying with a perfectly reasonable lawful order, you copped an attitude. That's what Obama should have said. What did he say? The Cambridge police acted stupidly. And it ticked off police officers all over America, and that set the foundation for his criticizing the police time and time again unfairly. Then there was, if I had a son, he looked like Trayvon, referring to Trayvon Martin. Okay, Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by a guy named George Zimmerman. Zimmerman stood trial for second-degree homicide. The jury found him not guilty. And those jurors who spoke to the media afterwards said, race had nothing whatever to do with it. Yeah. That's what started, by the way, Black Lives Matter. People think George Floyd started it. It didn't. That's what started it. So Black Lives Matter got started over a premise, and George Zimmerman wasn't even black. First they said he was white, then it turns out he was Hispanic and
Yeah.
Cuban or whatever it was.
Mess.
Wasn't even, he was Mongol like most of us, mongrel like most of us, and he wasn't even white. That's what started Black Lives Matter. Then Obama said in an interview, racism is in America's DNA. The same guy who said we were 90% of the way there now says racism is in our DNA. His AG, Eric Holder, said, when it comes to matters of race, America has, quote, been a nation of cowards, close quote.
Amazing.
And Eric Holder gave a speech where he talked about America's continued pernicious racism, his term, not mine.
Yeah.
And one example he gave was voter ID. Most blacks support voter ID. He had Al Sharpton over the White House over 70 times. Al Sharpton is America's preeminent race card hustler who became famous falsely accusing a white man of raping Tawana Brawley. He was in the middle of the Crown Heights riots in 1991, where he said, if the Jews want to get their yarmulkes on, come to my house, let's get it on. And one Jewish leader referred to the Crown Heights riots of 1991 as the most serious pogrom in the history of America, and Al Sharpton was right in the middle of stirring the pot. I can go on and on about the many things he's done. So Obama had him over the White House over 70 or 80 times. And at the end of his term, because of all this narrative about how bad the police are, a black man got a gun and murdered two officers sitting in their squad car in New York, execution style, just popped them. Another black man in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, walks up to 3 officers, kills them execution style. Another black man in Dallas, Texas, execution style murders 5 officers. All these 3 black men either told people or posted on social media. The reason they did it is because of this notion, this narrative that Obama pushed, that the police are systemically racist against black people. And
this just goes to show the impact that narrative can have on the psyche of people. It just shows, look at how these people responded to being told repeatedly that their problem, their issues, their condition is caused by white people in terms of disrespectful attitude.
And the data shows that anything, the police are more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than a white suspect. They kill more unarmed white people every year. They kill more whites every year than they kill blacks. It is a lie. And it's a direct line between Obama, Jesse, and what happened beginning in May of 2020 when we had 4 months of protests over the death of George Floyd. Keep in mind regarding that, there were 25 people killed, millions of people who were protesting, a lot of property damage, $2 billion worth of insured property damage, maybe another $2 billion of uninsured property damage. Why? Over the assumption that Officer Derek Chauvin did what he did because of George Floyd's race. The lead prosecutor in that case was a black man. I'm a trial lawyer, and your most important statement in a trial is your opening statement, most important part of it, where you set the whole narrative. And he took pains, it was on television, to say the police in general are not on trial. He said most of them are doing a good job. They have a tough job. They have to make a split-second decision, life or death. It's hard. He said the Minneapolis PD in general is not on trial. And he mentioned some of the officers and officials he knew. He said this individual's on trial for what this individual did, and the black prosecutor never even intimated that what Derek Chauvin did had anything to do with George Floyd's race, and Derek Chauvin was never charged with a hate crime. Yet you had all these people out there destroying property because of this assumption that what happened to George Floyd had to do with his race. Now, I don't know about the political affiliation of the people that were protesting, but I assure you, they would probably self-describe, if you ask them, are you liberal or very liberal, they probably would say, yeah, I'm very liberal.
Yeah.
The reason I mention that is that there is a website called policemag.com. And they asked people who self-described as very liberal, how many unarmed black men did the police kill in 2019? 50% of the self-described very liberal people thought the police killed 1,000 unarmed black men in 2019. 8% thought they killed 10,000. As to people that self-describe as just liberal, 39% of them thought the police killed 1,000 unarmed black men in 2019. 5% thought they killed 10,000. The answer, according to the Washington Post database, 12.
12?
12.
Like 1-2?
1-2. That's the gap between what people think is going on and what is going on,
Yeah.
which is why so many people are in the streets rioting, because they think this happens all the time when in fact it is rare. And just because you're unarmed does not mean you're not dangerous or reasonably perceived as dangerous. Michael Brown, Ferguson, was unarmed. He had just done a strong arm robbery, and his DNA was found on the officer's gun, meaning he was trying to get it.
Right.
So just because you're unarmed does not mean you're not dangerous. So there are very, very, very few instances of unarmed black people who are legitimately killed for unlawful reasons every year. There are more unarmed white people that are killed for unlawful reasons than there are blacks. It is rare for the police to kill anybody, let alone unarmed, let alone unlawfully. So you have all these people, young black men, who are told otherwise, pulled over by the cops. Instead of complying and cooperating, they're copying an attitude.
Yeah.
And as a result, something is happening that otherwise wouldn't happen. My dad always told me, when you're pulled over by the cop, make sure your left hand is at 10 o'clock, your right hand is at 2 o'clock. Say yes, sir, say no, sir, say yes, ma'am, say no, ma'am. My dad wasn't a biologist, but he could tell a female cop from a male cop. Make sure your paperwork is in order.
Right.
And if you feel you're mistreated, get a badge number, and both of us will go downtown and deal with it.
Yeah.
Instead, black people are taught the opposite. You're taught cops are enemies, and they're out to get you. And as a result, they're not cooperating, and as a result, you're having far more violent encounters than would otherwise be the case. And the data shows that anything, the police are more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than a white suspect. They kill more unarmed white people every year. They kill more whites every year than they kill blacks. It is a lie. And it's
the numbers don't justify the narrative that black Americans are being hunted down by law enforcement when they are simply trying to live a decent, honorable, innocent life. That's not the case. So it just goes to show that this race hustling narrative by so many of these politicians and these so-called activists, that is what is helping to hold back the American dream for many black people in that country. So a lot has to be changed, and I think the change must begin with them being educated about what is happening in their community and what they can do to prevent any future problems. We'll leave it there for now. I'll leave a link to the full video in the pinned comments. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Yeah, good one from Jessie and Larry. Hopefully we can see some more from them. Take care.